I'd like to be involved.
Hmm.
It wasn't easy for me growing up because I have a lot more challenges than some other people, being I'm totally blind and I'm also autistic. So sometimes those obstacles can hinder, and did in past years, can hinder my progress as to making friends and becoming involved in different things. But that was while growing up, and while doing that, I learned how to cope with it.
Welcome to Opportunity Knocks. I'm your host, Todd Paton. And listen, we have royalty. We have radio royalty in the Sprinter van. We have the one and only Dr. Bob Woodruff. And let me say this, I have so much respect for you, Bob. I mean, you have, you're an inspiration. I mean, that's the easiest way I could put this. I see what you do in the community. I see how you give back. And just everything about you, Dr. Bob, is stand up. It's A+. It's I have nothing but such great things to say about you. Love you, man. You're part of our family. I want to hear the story of how you, because if it wasn't for you meeting Ryan, we would have never met. You'd have never met Scott. You'd have never met my mom. You'd never met any of our family. How did that happen? How'd you meet Ryan?
Thank you, Todd, for the kind words. So Ryan and I are both involved with an organization called Honor Flight South Florida. We are a nonprofit organization that flies veterans, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam veterans, to see their memorials up in Washington, D.C. And Honor Flight had come to South Plantation High School, where I was attending school. Um,
What year was this?
this was 2014,
Okay.
10 years ago at the time of this
Okay.
recording. And they came to do a presentation at my school. They had a couple of World War II veterans give speeches, and I got to meet one of the founders, and they invited me to come to the airport.
Was that Rick?
It was a guy named Jim.
Okay.
He's not with Honor Flight anymore, but he
Okay.
was then. So South Plantation kept organizing a bus that would go to the airport with a bunch of our kids on it, and we would go greet the veterans. And every time I would go to the airport with South Plantation, Ryan would be there at the end of the parade getting off the flights, and he would always single me out in the crowd. He's like, he's always there. He's always there. It's really cool. So one day, South Plantation couldn't make it to the honor flight because they had another commitment, but I still wanted to go to the airport. So I ended up getting a hold of Ryan and saying, hey, listen, man, I want to come to the airport. I won't be able to make it with my school. Can you come get me or send somebody to get me? And he's like, yeah, I'll come down and I'll get you. And so we kind of developed a relationship, a friendship, if you will, through our efforts and volunteering with Honor Flight.
How amazing! Well, that's unbelievable. So we're hearing an opportunity knocking right there. So because look, we could talk business, we could talk dollars, we could talk this, but when you have a friendship and a relationship the way you and Ryan have, like that kind of that bond, that special, real special relationship, that's an opportunity that knocked. And if you didn't call him in high school or email him, however you connected with him, you would have never had that relationship because that was an opportunity you took advantage of. And
And let me tell you, it has been really good to me. Ryan and his family have been nothing but nice, and I appreciate all of the kindness that they have shown me. Um, I got to meet his brother Scott last year. Scott and his side of the family, and they took me up to their place in Tampa. They let me stay there in Tampa with them, and they took me to a Rays game so I could meet some of their broadcasters. And let me tell you, some of the nicest people I've ever met. They
oh
will
yeah,
go out.
you
They will go out of their way to help you out, whatever you want. They were willing to do it. We had a party. We played the piano together. He let me play on his speakers. I got to play music. Nicest man in the nicest family. I've almost wanted to cry because it was such a great experience that I got to take advantage of. It's because of Ryan and Scott and all you guys.
I love it, man. I love it. And
I just had to tell that quick story.
I love it, man. You mentioned the Rays game, and I remember them taking pictures and sending it to me of you you were actually in the booth, right?
I got into the Spanish radio booth and I talked with Enrique Olio, who's the only blind MLB announcer that calls games. He's a color
Wow.
commentator, and he's totally blind. He's been doing it for 25 years. Good guy, I'll tell you. It was great to talk with him and Ricardo, his partner, during their broadcast.
How awesome was that? That must have been inspiring. And did you ask him any specific questions or anything that he told you or motivated you to?
It was awesome to hear about his story. He was the one that asked me most of the questions
Yeah,
about where I came from, how I got involved with Honor Flight, and he asked me about helping out veterans and things of that nature. So
it's great. So we heard the Honor Flight story, and as you know, I love Honor Flight. It's just it's what you guys do, and how we give back to the veterans like that is such a small token of a way to say thank you to them. And all the volunteers at Honor Flight are just incredible to donate so much time. And I love the fact that there's no salaried employees, and it's all volunteer. There's nobody getting a paycheck. And to me, that tells you something about an organization. But let's switch gears here, Dr. Bob. And I want to, little birdie's been telling me there's a little Dr. Bob's Jazz Corner is taking off here. I love this. Tell me about the radio station.
So I've been working with a radio station in a town called Valdosta, Georgia, WHLJ 97.5 FM. We're a small radio station in a small town. Um, Back in January of 2021, I met with the program director, and he gave me a smooth jazz show on Saturdays, and we called it Dr. Bob's Jazz Corner. At first, it was a mistake. He had called it Dr. Bob's Jazz Gospel Corner when
Right.
telling me to read it. Then he backtracked and said, "No, wait, it's supposed to be Dr. Bob's Jazz Corner." And it's a Saturday smooth jazz show. I'm on probably for 30 minutes out of a week on a gospel station full of ministers, and I've been doing the show for almost 5 years now.
Awesome. You don't call him pig vomit, do you?
No, that's he's been way too nice to me. I don't want to do that.
No, and
Um,
he would know. I'm sure he saw that movie. That's a great movie. The WNBC, WNBC. Give me the call letters there, Dr.
this
Bob.
is Dr. Bob Woodruff on WNBC, the station of the stars.
You got to say the N word. It's WNBC.
No, WNBC.
Now you got to say it more. WNBC. uh, so
Yeah.
tell me what turned you on to jazz music? How'd you get into jazz?
Well, this goes all the way back to 2012.
Mhm.
I used to be into all the rap and hip hop and the pop music of today, all that stuff. And then one day, my parents were going out to date night, and I had the house to myself. And I said, you know what? They're going out. Let me try. This is kind of a weird story. Let me try to listen to something different, because all mom listens to is this new country. So it's either pop or hip hop or the new country stuff. And I wanted to listen to something different. So I just flipped around through different music channels on the TV until I found this jazz channel. And for some reason, I just left it there for like 4 hours.
Wow.
And I just kept listening to all the musical instruments
Cool.
sing with each other, the saxophones, the trumpets, trombones, the bass, the brush drums all the time. And it was just, I just took to it right away. And then
Awesome.
I found the 40s big band channel, which really hooked me because all those things were nice. And then eventually I got to smooth jazz a few years before I started the Jazz Corner program because I used to be at a radio station in Naples, Wave 101.1.
Ah.
And we were one of the last of if you know what beautiful music is, we were one of the last beautiful music stations in the state of Florida. Beautiful music is essentially orchestrated versions of popular hit songs.
Uh-huh.
Think about the stuff you used to hear in Kmart, or at dentist offices, or in the elevator.
Yeah, elevator
Stuff like
music,
that.
right?
Easy listening. They called it easy listening.
Easy listening. So like at Home Depot.
So yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
Those are songs, every song. I'm like, I love that song. I love that song. I love it.
yeah.
They're all songs you know and love.
Yeah, it's just they're different orchestrated arrangements by conductors. It's not actually like the soft adult pop sound.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of different, and that's how I discovered smooth jazz because they did a show on Sundays called the Champagne Jazz Brunch, and I would always go over to Naples just to hear that show every week, and I loved it.
Oh, wow.
So
So what's the future? You know, what's if I was to say, Dr. Bob, in 10 years, if we could draw a picture and just this is exactly what we want to do is we want to have you here doing this. What is that? What is that going to be? Is it going to be you having your own podcast, having a radio show, having a what is it? Or maybe something completely different.
Well, I'd love to have a radio show in the future if radio is still a viable thing, because tastes have changed and people are streaming more. But I think a radio show could still be a thing if you were engaging with your audience. Um,
Tell me how you mean by that, because we could technically start getting that in motion now for you. Meaning, you know, the term podcast. Just throw that out the door for a second. Ultimately, what we're doing is we're recording a show. We're in a studio right now, and whether we the distribution of it, which would be radio or whatever like that. But obviously, with the podcast, you're distributing it everywhere, and one of those distribution channels can be radio. In other words, especially now with the amount of as you're doing, exactly a perfect example is you create your content in your house, right,
yeah.
and then edit it and do all your production, post production stuff. So is that something that you is like a real passion of yours that you would like to do that? And if so, what would that show look like? I mean, would it be a jazz radio? Would it be an extension of what you're doing now?
Well, who knows if jazz will be as successful as it is
Mm-hmm.
right now, because it's kind of been dying off in terms of ratings and market share. So I may end up working in pop music, or something like that. But I'd like to have a community-focused radio show. In other words,
Good. I like that.
I'd get on the radio, I'd talk about what's happening in the community,
Uh-huh.
like, hey, don't forget the City of Plantation's hosting their Christmas tree lighting this Saturday, December 7th.
Oh, very
I'll be
cool.
there. Make
Yeah.
sure you come to City Hall and visit. And I just want to talk about things like that, and I'd also engage with people on social media. Uh, if you want to hear a certain song, let me know what you want to hear, and I'll play it for you. If you want to call me and say hello, all that kind of thing.
Awesome. Like a call-ins, have so it's almost like an entertainment side, but also educate informative in the way of community size. So what about tying in veterans to that? Like,
Absolutely, I'd work in tandem with Honor Flight, and we would get their events on the air. Like, when they do the homecomings to the airport, I'd let everybody know how to get involved with Honor Flight. Come to the meetings at the fire station. We meet once a month, or come to Mission Barbecue and talk to one of our people. We're out there on Veterans Day and stuff like that. It's just
I love it.
something cool.
How about we get that in motion? We start with we do something in the sprinter and we kind of map out a game plan for this. Meaning, let's use and it's really I'm hearing a couple things. I'm hearing honor flight veterans. I'm not gonna say honor flight, just veteran in general. Like
Yeah,
something whether we have a guest come in that's a veteran or something that or call in a veteran, but something that, and then the community focus of like this is what's going on, almost like an announcement, quick. That doesn't have to be too deep.
yeah,
And then call-ins, which is the entertainment side.
absolutely.
I love it. I love it. Dr. Bob's Radio. I love it,
Yes, sir. Bob
man.
FM, your
That's,
radio station.
yes, sir. So, you mentioned Christmas. Any plans for the holidays?
Well, I've just been asked to host the City of Plantation's Holiday Parade, which is coming up on Saturday, November 23rd at City Hall.
You're gonna host it?
Yeah, they've asked me to host it. So
Wow.
I get to host it, I get to choose the music for the program, and I get to introduce all the floats and sponsors and everything.
Jeez. And when that's the November 23rd?
That's November 23rd at 9 a.m. at City Hall.
And what day is that? The
It's a
23rd.
Saturday. It's the
Great.
Saturday before Thanksgiving.
Oh, great.
So
Excellent.
if you're here, stop by.
I
Say
am.
I'll be there.
I'd love to attend
And
that.
then Light Up City Hall is their annual Christmas tree lighting, which is coming up December 7th, so it's 2 weeks later. I'll probably be doing that too, because I got to host it for the first time last year, and it apparently went over very well with Parks and Rec as well as the people in attendance. And that event keeps getting bigger and bigger each year. So plug away, Light Up City Hall, Saturday, December 7th from 6 to 9, I believe,
Great.
at the
What
same place.
Dr. Bob, what motivates you? What gets you going? What is it that gets you to say, you know what, I love doing that? Because you give back so much to the community, to Honor Flight. You're just saying you have such a positive attitude. What is it? What motivates you? And what can people learn from you? A little bit of advice. Like, what is it?
I'd like to be involved.
Mm-hmm.
Um, It wasn't easy for me growing up because I have a lot more challenges than some other people, being I'm totally blind and I'm also autistic. So sometimes those obstacles can hinder, and did in past years, can hinder my progress as to making friends and becoming involved in different things. But that was while growing up, and while doing that, I learned how to cope with it and just to accept it and understand that this is a part of my life. I can't change it. I
How
can't
hard
fix it.
was that, especially at a young age? When you at a young age now, as more mature, you're an adult, you're a thing, but when you're in, and imagine that was in middle school, because that can be brutal. I have a middle school child, and you see how some of these other kids treat other kids.
Yeah, middle school was an interesting experience, to say the least. That was at a time when I was just kind of frustrated with life,
Mhm.
and I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to walk with the cane. I rejected it and kept breaking it because I kept thinking I could do this by myself. I don't need your help.
Mhm.
So that took a little while to embrace. And then also, people did do things to me in middle school that were not very nice. But I guess it started in eighth grade. I started to get a rapport with teachers,
Mhm.
and I started to get better grades. And then I made some friends and got involved with some clubs and started doing this hosting for their little parent nights that they do for each subject. And then that turned into, when I got to high school, I got involved in the theater program. And I thought it was going to be an obstacle, but my director, Mr. Zembuck, uh, was willing to have me in the program because he had worked with deaf students in the past before.
Mhm.
So he was open to working with a blind one, which is a whole different ball game, but who's to say, right? But
That's an opportunity knocked
yeah,
in two, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
And he's one of the reasons why I continue to do what I do today. He
Great.
actually he gave me an acting job, and then I felt like it was too much on me because I wasn't doing a whole lot. I just had a small role.
Hmm.
So I approached him one day and I said, "Listen, man, I'm just back here sitting here doing nothing for a long time. What if I go up and I make those announcements at the beginning of each show?" And I just
Right.
say, "Good evening and welcome to the Paladin Playhouse and tonight's
Oh,
performance
nice.
of Rent or Legally
Uh-huh.
Blonde or whatever." And so he let me do that because he was doing that when we did our first show
Oh,
when I
so
was an
that was like the
actor.
host almost, the intro,
So
yeah,
yeah, kind of.
MC.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
So I just kind of asked him, like, "Can I do that?" And he said, "Sure. I'll tell you what. I'll do opening night, and then you can start the night after." And I started the night after, and he was impressed by my performance.
That's
And
nice.
so I've been doing those announcements at South Plantation High School for 10 years. That was 10 years.
Oh, you still do
I
them?
still do them today. And Mr. Zumbuck's not there anymore. He just left about a year and a half ago.
Do you still
So,
keep in touch with them?
yeah, he's at a school in Palm Beach now. But the new director that has come in has asked me to stay on as the voice
That's
of South
great.
Plantation. So I'm still
And when is
working
that?
there.
Have you done
Um,
it this year yet, or is it?
so we're getting ready to open a new show called Ride the Cyclone. I believe it opens November 14th.
Oh, so you do multiple ones each year?
Yeah, we do two. We usually do two productions a year.
Jesus.
So yeah,
Very
it's a
cool.
lot, and it's all. There's a lot of volunteering that goes into that also because the kids volunteer their time after school, and then the parents. There's a Friends of the Theater group that meets every month, and they're a volunteer organization, and they help out with putting together various fundraising events like car washes, a spaghetti dinner, a
Hmm.
little concert thing, and it helps us to raise money for our program because the school district, we don't get any money from them. We have to raise it all ourselves to build the sets, to buy the rights to the shows, to get all the
Hmm.
music and everything else. We have to pay for all of it ourselves.
Wow.
So it's a big thing, but
Yeah,
it's been going for a long time and I hope it continues.
that's great. And I mentioned a word inspiring, and I think that's what it comes from. What you just said there, as at a young age, and then when you got to high school, it sounds like you started getting involved in honor flight, started realizing that when I give back, I feel good, right? And it feels good to give. I'm doing
It's
this.
such a good feeling, I will tell you.
Yeah.
It's a rewarding feeling to be involved and to get to know the people that I have over the years. It's really been a rewarding thing. I don't think my parents ever expected anything to come of of all the stuff that I've done over the years.
They must be
From
so proud.
Yeah, from getting involved in honor flight to the
Yeah.
theater program to working in radio and
Yeah.
working with the city now and doing all these other things. It's a
And
good thing, you know.
it's a phenomenal thing. And Dr. Bob, we haven't even seen anything yet. I'm telling you, you are just getting close to the potential where I really see a very big popular radio show / podcast. I see something big happening. And I want that I want to be part of helping you grow that. I really do. And I could speak for my brothers, and I could speak for, the people that are in my inner circle to say, let's see what we can do to help Dr. Bob. He's always giving back, and let's elevate and give you something to shoot for here and elevate him and bring him up and help and try to get this show on the road, and make it happen. I'm excited to be part of that, and you're a talented guy. You got that voice that just, and just the way it rolls off, it's like smooth jazz. I mean, that's a perfect. It's like it's a smooth voice, and it's enjoyable to listen to, and you're a talent, you're a good person, and I'm glad that we're friends, man. I'm glad to call you a friend. If you need anything, I'm always here for you, man.
Thank you, Todd. That's very kind.
Yeah.
I'm
And
hoping I'm hoping my career takes off, and I appreciate all the help that you guys can give, and hopefully I get some audience. And there's a saying that my buddy DJ Laz told me when I was very young. And
DJ Laz, yeah, it's a big
DJ
name.
Laz.
Yeah.
I used to hang around him at Power 96 all the time.
Cool.
And one day I got to go into his studio in Plantation when he used to live up here. And he said, if you don't know about it, you're going to find out about it. So I've kind of taken that as my mantra and just gone with it.
Nice.
And so here I am now, and it's because of him. That's another guy.
Opportunity knock.
That's another one that's gotten me to where I am today, and I really want to thank him for all that he's done to help me out, because him being on the radio and also being disabled, being disabled is not a challenge for him. It's not something that holds him back. And he's taught me.
DJ Laz is disabled?
Yeah. He's got a physical disability.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's why everybody calls him the pimp with the limp. It's a long story. But he doesn't let his disabilities hold him back. And he's been doing radio for a long time, 40, 50 years. So he's taught me to not let anything hold me back and to keep going and to push forward. And so that's where I am now, because of him, because of Zembuk, and just a growing community of people that have been nothing but kind.
Awesome.
So
and you take those, and because a lot of people just look at the negative. You don't. I can tell, and I love that about you. Is you look at the positive and everything.
There's too much negativity going around in this world, and it's all fueled by. There's a lot of things, but I try to see the best in everything and everyone. If you just go into it with a negative mentality, that's how you're going to come out of it. So
that's a good way to finish with that. That's a strong statement. Dr. Bob, it's been a pleasure, and always love spending time with you, and I'm excited to see where this goes. And one last time, give me a call, the call letters.
This is Dr. Bob for WNBC.
That's a wrap. Dr. Bob, thank you so much.
Thank you, Todd. See you soon.
All right.